with my faith. I didn't go back to doubting. But I did ask the Lord a lot about pain and suffering. And I had this make-believe conversation with the Lord, and I mean, you know, I didn't hear a voice, but I mean, to me, the conversation was something like this. And I'm saying, Lord, why? 43 years old. And he would, you know, if I had my day in court with him like Job asked for, I think the Lord would say something like this to me. I think we all have our own questions. But I think he'd say this to me, Gary, did I raise my son from the dead? I'd say, Lord, I've written 15 books on the subject. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty solid on the resurrection, but Lord, this is 1995, and I'm asking, why does Debbie have to be sick like this? Gary, did I raise my son from the dead? Lord, yeah, I already told you I believe that, but she's up there in bed, and I've got 4 kids, and she's dying, and what am I going to do without her, and my whole world's crashing? And Gary, you've only got a PhD, so I'm going to say this real slowly, so maybe you can understand. And he kind of grabs me by the shirt collar, and he pulls me up, and he says, did I raise my son from the dead? He wasn't in good shape either. Yeah. All right, now we're making progress. What kind of a world is this? Well, I guess it's a kind of a world where you raise your son from the dead. Well, good. Now, my son was dead, was he not? Yeah. Well, let's back up. What happened? I don't have time to go into this, but the Mel Gibson film matches some of our historical references pretty well. One historical source said, you flay a man until his flesh hangs like ribbon from his bones. That's one of the ancient references about crucifixion. And so God said, you know, when my son was on the cross, what did he say to me? Oh yeah. He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? You know, I answered his prayers. What? You know, I answered his prayers. I don't think so. No, I answered his prayers. How so? On Sunday? Well, yeah, you answered his prayers on Sunday, but the key is he had to die on Friday, and that was like the most horrible death you could... And then I'm thinking this through, and I'm saying, you didn't take him away from that, did you? No. And then God asked me one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked. He says, do you expect something better than my son received? How do you argue with that? Do you expect something better than he got? Should I take you away from it when I didn't take him away from it? Well, Lord, why is this happening? Not going to tell you that right now, but here's what I want to tell you. Some people go through these things. I've got a friend who says, God lets people go through things when he wants to bless them. Something for you to think about. Anyway, the Lord's point is, that I raised him on Sunday. Answer his prayer. Do you know Christianity is the only major religion where the gospel gives a central part to the role of suffering? Now, Buddhism does, but Buddhism treats it by denying the reality of suffering. Only Christianity has the suffering at the middle of it and accepts it. Doesn't try to run away from it. Only Christian gospel. So anyway, they asked me to say something about way of application. To me, what better doctrine than one that says, here's a person who makes these extraordinary claims about being the Son of God. Put his money where his mouth was when he was raised from the dead. Has all this early witness, well, we're talking about Alexander at plus 400, and we have sources from plus 5. People are willing to die for it, and it still makes a difference today. You know the card that touched me the most? I got a card that said, it was about a year before I could repeat this. The card said, what are you going to do on that day when you go to heaven and you'll be able to walk with your wife hand in hand? But you know, that is the result. That is what the resurrection means. This isn't a sermon, I'm just adding this on to the end. That's not just something that has meaning if it happened. It's not just something that has meaning back to 30 AD. It comes all the way to the present because it makes sense out of life. It tells you there's going to be suffering, but there's something better. And that's the bottom line. Well, I'd be glad to take questions. Seriously, challenges. I've taught school for a long time, been in a lot of universities. So derogatory remarks are okay. I'm used to them. After all, I raised 4 kids. Should I just go ahead and take them? Okay. Yes, back in the back.
Okay, so your basic argument is that because they believed it, and if you're so close to the event, that it's true?
No, and that's a great question. Something's missing from this argument. That is what I said, that something's missing that I wasn't able to go into tonight. Here's my question for you. How do we get from thought they saw? Now let me tell you something. You know how widespread this belief is? How many scholars will concede that the disciples thought they saw the risen Jesus? About 99.9%. Nobody disputes this. The disciples thought they saw the risen Jesus. Okay. Now, how do you get from they thought they saw to they really saw it? Everybody concedes thought they saw it. Thought he was raised. How do you get from thought he was raised to really raised? If you don't accept their testimony face value, which nobody needs to do, I mean, you can think about this, people propose what are called naturalistic theories. Okay, this is not a naturalistic theory. I don't believe it. That's a denial. That counts for no more than I believe it. That's an acceptance. A naturalistic theory is this. Jesus wasn't raised from the dead. What really happened was fill in the blank. That's a naturalistic theory. All right, I'll step up to the plate. I'll tell you what really happened. This is it. You know that the vast majority of critics today do not go that route, the green one. They don't go that route. Because these things have been tried for 2,000 years, and the data out there are amazing. In fact, when you debate on the resurrection, usually when you try to push a guy, he's not Christian, and you push him, I think it's great when they pick a naturalistic theory. Because if they pick a naturalistic theory, they identify where they're coming from, and you can bring all the data against that, and we can see if it adds up or doesn't add up. So here's what I'd say. They thought they saw. If no other explanation can give me a better account, I'm justified in saying they saw. That's how I'd answer. I don't know if that's exactly answering your question. That's how I go after it. Everyone concedes this. So let's try this. And if this doesn't work, I'm not saying I have proof. I'm not saying this is airtight. I'm not saying this is academic certainty for you philosophers. I'm saying this is a probabilistic argument. Like all empirical arguments, it's probabilistic. They thought they saw. These don't seem to work. This is probably true. That's the way I state the argument. Go ahead. Did you want to follow up?
So, I mean, I'm guessing that you addressed a lot of naturalistic theories and found them to be highly probable.
Yeah, in the last book I did in this, I spent 100 pages on it. I mean, we did some wild things. I'll be doing this and someone will say, I know somebody who saw Elvis. We'll take all that kind of stuff. So we did 100 pages in our last book. It's called, myself and one of my former students, Mike Lacona. It's called The Case for the Resurrection of Jesus. Pretty cool. 350 pages. 100 of them are on the green part. I've got my doctoral dissertation and almost 100 pages on the green part. So I can do this for my professors too. Because see, most of my professors on my committee didn't believe in the resurrection. Yes?
That ties in with my question. What did you get on your dissertation?
They don't grade it. It's pass-fail. I passed. They did not make me add even one sentence or take away a sentence. They didn't make me do anything. That was very nice. Yes.
How did you become a believer?
The resurrection. Well, okay, I got to back up. I was raised in a Christian home, but that's what I walked away from. So if you want to say, when did I first come? You know, I guess I did what a lot of people do. The majority of people, I just accepted it on faith. Then I had all these questions. So if you mean what got me back when I had this time with turmoil which lasted for 10 years.